Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Ascendant. For Capricorn season, which runs obviously from December 2025 into January 2026. I hope you are well. I'm using this, which I picked up on Christmas Eve from a Bulgarian bookshop. It's a 777 tarot, it's called. I'm not going to give you the Bulgarian name. It's absolutely awesome. I've been playing with it a lot over Christmas and then it wanted to come out for you. So things to tell you. If the reading resonates with you, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the links in the description box below. The first one will take you to Selfie if you just want one video and that's it. But if you want access to more, which is to say all of the extended content for all of the signs, so you can look for your sun, your moon, your ascendant, whatever, weekly energy readings, and at the higher tier live classes and things like that, then get yourself over to Circle, which is the second link in the description box below. I think it's worth it, and we have a lot of fun over there anyway. So Capricorn, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Let's get these cards out. So can I have 3 cards for Capricorn's past, please? Right, we have the Judgment card in reverse. I'll tell you why I'm giggling in a second. Let's get 3 cards out here. We have the 10 of Cups in reverse, and we have the Tower. I knew this was coming out for you somewhere. Just to explain, as I've done these Capricorn season readings, you know, we are in the last set of readings for this year and kind of crossing over into 2026. I found that the past energy, rather than speaking to, you know, the last 6 weeks or so, has actually been a kind of retrospective over the entirety of 2025. Like, you know, what has it been about? What has it meant? So that's why I'm pulling 3 cards for this, but we're going to do it for the present. And so it sounds like one of my cats is trying to break into the room. Let's have a look. So current energy, we have got the Sun reversed. Let's have a look. We've got the 8 of Pentacles, and we've got the 4 of Pentacles. Tell me about Capricorn season for Capricorns, please. There's a lot of cards trying to come out. We have the Knight of Wands. We have the 3 of Pentacles. One last one, please. Thank you. We have the Hierophant with the 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. There's definitely a redemption arc going on here, Capricorn. Right, so, and I'll put those where you can see them. I'll just get them nice and tidy so you can see what's going on. This is probably best put like this for now, because these are not cards and the clarifiers. What we've got is, you know, what is actually happening right now, which is complex and layered, as we would expect, around a transition from an old way of being to a new way of being. And believe me, the vibe shift between 2025 and 2026 is really quite spectacular. So let's have a look and see what the nature of 2025 has been for you. We've got the 10 of Cups reversed, Judgment reversed, and the Tower in the upright. Now I have to share with you, Capricorn, and you probably, I don't know, I actually did your reading before Christmas, or at least I thought I did. I was about 40 minutes into it when I realised that I wasn't even recording, and I tell you what, I was so pissed off. I actually lobbed my tarot cards on the table and got up, stalked off, and I was livid because I was really pleased with myself that I had actually got here and got down to it. And for some reason I was actually quite excited about doing your reading. I was kind of perched on the edge of my seat. Latterly, after I'd calmed down, I started to wonder if that wasn't a brilliant metaphor for the way that the year's gone for you, Capricorn. It's like, you know, you've really wound yourself up to do something, you've got into it, you think you're doing your best, and then it all just falls apart, right? It all fell apart for ways that are inconceivable. Maybe in your case it was, like me, it was a schoolboy rookie error. I had clearly not pressed the button hard enough to start things recording. But it's like that. You think you know the rules. You think you know what's required from you. You think you're doing it. And then all of a sudden it just fell apart. I mean, that's what these energies are saying here to me. Now, if we start off with that Judgment card, the Judgment card is a number of things, but it is the rebirth. And I think when it shows up in reverse, and I have to say it's incredibly fucking rare that it shows up in reverse, we have almost like an abortive rebirth. It's kind of like, oh, so far, no, this wasn't it. This wasn't the time. This was not all the lessons learned, and now we get to move on to the creative phase as much as we would like. It's like there are still things to come down. The problem is that the things that need to come down could only be approached by or reached by way of actually trying to put things straight, actually trying to get things in order. Now, we talk about the Judgment card as changing your life, and it is the decision to change your life. But if you're trying to change your life, but you're using the same foundations that caused it to fall down in the first place, the universe is going to stop you and go, not quite. No, go back and do it again. Because the energy of the Tower is about pulling away what is not real from your life, right? So again, we talk about the Tower in terms of faulty foundations or walls and supports that have not been maintained at the rate that they should be, and now they're not holding up the rest of the Tower. For me, the Tower card, whilst incredibly frustrating and often very, very painful in its execution, it is a redirection. It's usually an energy of not this way. And so what we end up doing is kind of running up against our own expectations, our own desires, our own way that we want to kind of force life to be. And if you're trying to shoehorn things back into that kind of order that you knew from before, like this is where the Tower's going to step in. For me, it is the expression of a loving and benevolent God, actually, that that higher power would take such an interest to say, no, not that way, this way. The Tower always ends up being positive. It's rarely felt that way at the time, and particularly not if the Ten of Cups here has felt like a lack of community or anything really solid around you to help you through. It's a beautiful card, but it is a card of endings. And as I've said so many times before, this card that is so beautiful often involves suffering when we don't realise that something has reached its natural completion and it is time for us to move on to the next phase of something. I mean, maybe what's happened here is that you've tried to move on before it was time. There's the Judgment card, absolutely stunning, as all of these cards are. But it's like, no, this is not the way, Capricorn. And so just as I felt with that reading, when I was like, no, I've got this, everything's great, this is really, really good. I'm enjoying being here and I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing. And then it was just like, oh, it was for nothing. I mean, has this been the experience of your life over 2025? I mean, it's worth bearing in mind that 2025 was, at least in numerology anyway, a 9 year. So it was about endings and it was about completions. And I think the extent to which we were able to get things up and running was very limited, actually, because it's not what the energy of the year was about. The energy of the year was making sure that we had a clear space ready for the creative energy that comes in 2026 when we are in a 1 year initiation, right? Leadership, innovation, originality, all of that kind of thing. And to that end, whatever would be an impediment to that needed to come down, but it's almost like you had to get close to it and start engaging with it before that falling down happened. Let's get some clarifiers on the table. Tell me about these 3 cards. Yeah, well, 4 of Pentacles, there we go. Emperor, there we go. And the Hierophant, interesting, there we go. We have got 3 depictions of the same, well, kind of blended energies of control, and a degree to which a sort of masculine rigidity has been at play. The Emperor and the Hierophant are both masculine energy cards, but they are the expression of something like keeping keeping shit together, Capricorn. Not allowing it to fall apart. You know, we've got the Emperor runs a rigid empire, which is built on us knowing exactly where the edges of the empire are, and you know, whether we're trying to go to war or whether we're just trying to run the empire. There's a certain number of systems and strategies and stuff that need to be put in place for that to happen. The Hierophant is about the continuation of tradition, about the continuation of hierarchical ways of being, perhaps, right? But it's that fixedness, it's that structure. And both of these cards talk about that. And then we have the Four of Pentacles as well. Now, in the face of such overwhelming rigidity, there is no wonder, I think, that the Tower had to keep coming in to address what is... Do you know what it puts me in mind of? It was an absolutely random memory that's just popped in sideways. When I was young, so maybe 11 or something like that, I had overcrowding in my mouth because my teeth were all too big. They're huge, huge teeth. And I had to take them out. And when you get them taken out, certainly at least if you get them taken out by a dentist in Coventry in the 1980s, you know, they would put their foot on the chair, they'd have your teeth in a fucking clamp thing, and they had to push down to break he called it cement, right? The cement that was holding the tooth in your gum. They don't just whip them out like that, right? They're held in place, and you've got to break whatever's holding it in place to get the tooth out. Now, you know, in the long run, this was always going to be a net positive because my teeth were overcrowding and they needed place to, they needed the room to develop. But in that moment, I have extreme PTSD about dentists. I've been to the dentist once in the last 30 years on account of that, right? And it was fine, actually, I have to say. But the point is, where the cement is really rigid, where everything is being held in place, and the implication has been, whether aware of it or not, Capricorn, you have been trying to hold things in place. You've been trying to keep a natural order that you recognize, that you understand, that you have worked to forever. Then the universe is going to come in like this 80s butcher dentist and just keep cracking that foundation again and again and again, because it's trying to create space and you have been trying to prevent the creation of space. Why? Well, where there is space, where there is an emptiness, there is the unknown. And it feels like you've been trying to cling to what you know, because that's where you feel safe. Now, whether this is the family unit that's kind of dissolved around you, that's possible. Maybe a friendship group that you thought was going to be around forever that is suddenly not there. You know, there's the implication here is that it has always been for you to start again in some sort of meaningful way, right? But with a whole new perspective, Capricorn. You know, the Tower doesn't come along and rip things away from you that you needed. It's not what the Tower does. The Tower said, my God, tried so many times now to show you that you don't need this thing that you're clinging to. I'm going to just rip it out of the equation altogether and then see what you do. Like I said, I think it's quite interesting because this Judgment card here, our decisions, our judgments, the way that we choose to change our life and the ways in which we are reborn is showing up in the reverse. Like I said, what felt quite interesting about it is the need to run up against these things that you were trying to hold in place. What I'm trying to say is there's no criticism here for what you have not been able to let go this year, Capricorn, because the process of trying to keep it in place harder and harder and harder almost feels like it's part of the journey for you, right? So it's not that you've wasted time. It's not that you've done anything wrong. You've done it exactly as you were supposed to. And the Tower was always going to come in. Like, there was never going to be a moment where you just got everything, I don't know, back in February and just released everything and let it go. Because we're talking about rebuilding Capricorn on a fundamental level first, so that Capricorn can then go out there and rebuild their world with a totally different mindset. But in order to do that, we have to let go of the rigidity. And I don't think Capricorn's known how to do that. like I said, that stability and structure around you, the way that your life has been set up, the way that you see the world, right? It is an expression of Capricorn knowing how to play the game. But the rules of the game have changed. And now the rules of the game require Capricorn to know who they are. And I think so much has been, pushed to the side in your experience of yourself that it's been it's felt like without all of those things in place that were representations of how things used to be, the things that you've been trying to keep still, the fear is that you yourself are lost, I think, Capricorn. Yeah, we've got the Four of Wands. We've got the creation of a new foundation. I mean, the wording is very specific there. If we're going to create a new foundation, we really do have to let go of the old one, because the old one is not fit for purpose. And so it's incredibly frustrating that you've run up against these issues all year, but they have been actually kind of benevolently in the background, like resurfacing your awareness. Because in the difference between these two cards, and these are both foundational cards that we see here on the table, this one is creative, it has elements of the new, it has celebration, it has all of those good things. This one here is a representation of what has always been, and we are not prepared to let go of, we don't want to let go of. And in that situation, the only way that you are going to let them go, the only way in which the structures are going to fall, is if the energy of the Tower comes in to do it for you. Now that's it. Deeply uncomfortable, very frustrating, perhaps a little scary, but nevertheless necessary. So if we can take this as the meaning behind 2025 for you, which is that you haven't failed at anything, you haven't sucked at anything, but actually what's been happening for you is that you are being shown over and over again which things do not form part of the foundation moving forwards. We've got an idea of what it is that we have to emotionally work around in order to cultivate this state of acceptance, right? And then we come to your current energies. Like I said, we have the Sun up there, but you'll notice that the Sun is reversed, and we have the Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles coming out with it. Now what this says to me is that in this current time, there's definitely been a move on. And why do I say that? Because look at the difference between the depictions of the Pentacles in these two cards. Right? Here, clutched close. Not letting that go, not for love nor money. In this one, the Pentacles are stacked to the side. And what we have is a contemplation, right? We've got somebody who is sitting with the idea of value. What do I want to preserve? What do I want to keep? What is it time for me to let go, though? It says that the answer isn't fully here yet. The answer is not yet fully known, because the Eight of Pentacles is always about the additional work that must be done, the additional discipline that must be cultivated, the additional consistency in looking for the answers of what essentially, Capricorn, is you. Because this Sun card here, it's a card of joy, it's a card of happiness, it's a card of innocence, and it's a card of consciousness. It's about the, well, quite frankly, it's the emergence. In the major arcana, we have a period of night. Cards like death, cards like the moon, and all they all represent an underworld journey. And the Sun is the point of re-emergence, where our creativity flows. We have been quite literally reborn. Now, again, it's like it's close, but it's no cigar, Capricorn, because we're not quite there yet. Further work is necessary, right? Just as it wasn't done here, It's not done here, yet you still do not know quite to the extent that you should who you are, what you're about, what you stand for. And again, it's frustrating. But at the same time, I feel like you have all of the elements of it that you need. It's more about how you put them together. Is anything going to change in the nowish period? No, I don't think so. Because the tower's done its job. It's done the hitting over and over again, right? The cement, at the very least, has cracked around your teeth, right? There's a difference in the way you're thinking about things, but there is still a rigidity. So maybe the rigidity at this point is actually around the not being entirely sure what holds value anymore. Maybe even being afraid of holding on to anything too tightly, because it seems to be the things that you hold tightly to that are getting knocked out of the way by the tower, right? I think anybody who was hoping for feelings of joy and fun after the experience of 2025 probably a little over optimistic and a little over hopeful. But there's something stronger and more solid that can come instead. And I think you are still very much at the point of trying to work out what is solid after the wrecking ball that's been the tower, after these, continuously abortive attempts to change your environment, but change it within a framework that you already know. There you are, Queen of Pentacles, but notice that you're not showing up upright. We have the moon. You're just doubling down on that message of confusion. And what do we have here? King of Swords, Page of Swords. Yeah, for sure. Five of Swords. Five of Wands in reverse. No, not in reverse. These are reversed. Fucking hell. What's wrong with me today? The Five of Wands is the instability. It's in fact probably to some extent the instability that you've been trying to avoid, Capricorn, right? You are uniquely sensitive to how stable something is. But quite often, your awareness of how things work, your awareness of your own abilities is enough to see you through. And notwithstanding the hard work and the diligence that you put into everything. But it doesn't seem to matter how much work and diligence went in this year. You still didn't get the outcomes that you wanted. So now you're here and you're like, well, what do I stand for? What is important enough for me to work at it? I don't know what that is. How do I feel about everything? Where's my joy? Where's my happiness? It's a good question, Capricorn. But also, where is your sense of self? Like, I feel like we've shifted from absolute demolition to the tentative beginnings of creation here. But the extent to which it happens is the extent to which you allow yourself to be in that phase. I do think that there is a lot of concern and worry about what may go next. Almost to the degree that it feels like you're kind of sitting on your hands saying, well, I'm not going to make any kind of move in any direction because what is going to be the next thing in my universe to fall down? The Five of Wands is a chaotic energy. It's a conflicted energy. It's certainly unsettled and unstable. We don't know, I think, at this point what we're even fighting for. Certainly don't know what we're working for, and we don't know what we're creating, and we don't know why we're doing it. We don't even know, I think, who we are anymore. Now, I feel like I said to you fairly recently, Capricorn, that it was important that you understood the extent to which you have changed, and that there would come a point in the not too distant future where the skill set that you have amassed over time will actually come back albeit in a slightly transformed form, because it's got a different kind of energy that's motivating it from underneath. But the moon is distortion, obfuscation, confusion. It is also your deep psychology, right? It's what's going on beneath the surface. Now we've got the sun, which is your conscious mind as well, reversed. We've got the moon showing up sideways. I mean, it's bad enough when it's in the upright, but here it's kind of like, well, it's here, but it doesn't mean anything. Don't even know where it's going, right? And then we've got you. What are my goals? What are my dreams? What do I stand for? What do I want? And do you know what? Of all those sentences that I just said, it was what do I want that is the one that hurt the most. Because this doesn't feel like it's been a gentle unpicking of you and everything that you stand for, Capricorn. It feels like it's just been non-fucking-stop. And you've been showing up because you always do. 8 of Pentacles. Even though you may not necessarily entirely understand what the mission is, you still show up because there's nothing about you that would be comfortable in not showing up. You take your duties and responsibilities seriously. But there's a big old fucking why. It feels like there's still a little bit of you locked up. You know, just as the judgment card in reverse can speak to, you know, not getting to make the decision that changes your life, not getting to make the changes. King of Swords also can speak on not even understanding that there are decisions here to be made, or feeling like it is not possible for one to make them due to circumstances. But this Page of Swords is enough to say that this new mindset has not yet been revealed, right? It's not yet structured inside your head such that you can work with it now. It feels like a really confusing and muddy time. And this five of Wands actually feels a little bit like you'd really just like to throw in the towel with a lot of stuff. Just fuck it. Just, you know, I'm going to go and live on a beach somewhere. But you know that's not for you. You know enough about yourself to know that that's not for you. But you have absolutely no idea what is for you anymore. No idea what would make you feel creative. No idea what would make you feel like you were ready to take, you know, 2026 by the horns and just make it your year, or, you know, any of the other things that people sort of say around this sort of time. And a huge part of this is not really being able to see your own value. I wonder if that's what it all is, actually. Capricorn. Until you see your own value, you will not see anything about the world clearly. You can't just head down, work your way out of this, because the hinge point is you having a worth that sits beyond what you're capable of achieving, your productivity, all of those sorts of things. It's like, who are you in periods of instability? We know you're somebody who would naturally lock down on the idea of order, but the order seems to have been taken away, and it's like, well, in the absence of order and in the absence of being able to bring the order to even your own life first, like, who are you? Where is your value? Where does it lay? And that sort of question is really fucking hard. and it feels deeply, deeply unfair. It isn't, but it absolutely feels like that when it's happening. Why is it not? Because it's forcing you, it is pushing you to get to know yourself. There is the Chariot at the bottom of the deck. Now, yes, this card is associated with victory and success and determination and all of those things that actually come very naturally to a Capricorn. She represents the sign of Cancer, which is your opposite sign in the zodiac. But if Capricorn and Cancer represent an axis of tradition and family and heritage and the hard work that we put in, Capricorn, to protect and create a nurturing and nourishing space for what we consider to be valuable, Cancer. If you have no idea of what is valuable, to the extent that you don't even see how you are valuable, then the universe is just going to keep doing its thing until you start to get the message. Does it feel deeply unfair? Yes. Does it feel like you're being punished by the universe? Yes. Why is that? Because the perspective that you have on this is very myopic. Right? It seems to be hyper-focused on what is being taken away rather than what is being given space to develop and to grow. And in the first instance, because you do not know yourself, because there isn't enough room for the valuing of you as a human being with emotions. Like, I've said this a number of times. I've literally just said it a couple of minutes ago, right? There is a point that is coming, and it's really not too far away, where you will be able to step up and do what you do really, really well. But something about you has to change fundamentally first. The way that you see the world. Because the way that you see the world dictates the kind of decisions that you are making, as it was happening over here, right? You were doing what you thought was right. You were doing what felt right, which was definitely, things that were of a little bit more orderly and rigid and whatnot kind of manner of being. And the universe is like, no, wrong, do it again. No, do it again. No, that's not right, do it again. We've got the Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck. How much of this is a re-evaluation of what success looks like, Capricorn? Because it probably isn't the metric that you have used at every other point in the past to value yourself, right? Have any of you lost your jobs this year? Almost certain. Have you fallen on hard times financially? Almost certain. Have you had maybe even demotions and things like that, right? Have you had a bit of housing instability? Have you had all of these things? Like, these kinds of experiences, Capricorn, are sent to rock your shit specifically. I mean, they're gonna rock the shit of anybody, frankly, right? But for you, there's something that runs really, really deep in that. Now, this isn't punishment. This is saying, Capricorn, it's time to evolve to the next level. And once you've evolved to the next level, you can start doing things in your inimitable Capricorn way, albeit with a much broader sense of a lot of things, including your own value. But if you're trying to lurch towards a kind of success that was strictly material, strictly safety-based, strictly, I know Capricorns take strategic risks, right? But your resources, you don't tend to fuck around with, right? You take care of those. I don't know. I feel like this is all very much around your identity and the extent to which you can allow yourself to be you, even absent material successes. Especially absent material successes. Because the redefinition process will not will just not take a hold if you are still successful in every single way that you have always been successful. So that's why I think some of you have been taking, a bit of a hammer to the kneecaps from the universe this year. And it's going to feel like anything other than just. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have value, though. And I would hope that at least for some of you, looking for the meaning, looking to work out what it is about this year that was the lesson. How can we bring that in a way that is meaningful, that changes your perspective altogether? I think this is it. So when we come into Capricorn season, we have something really quite interesting happening. Now, I want to point out that Knight of Wands kind of came out a little bit sideways. I don't think he's fully engaged yet, but I think he's getting there. I think to some extent the bridging is coming from this Four of Pentacles and the time that you're willing to spend really thinking about not just what has happened this year, but like every aspect of the foundation of creating you into the being that you have been. Right? In the interests of self-awareness, in the interests of self-knowledge and integration and all these kinds of things. But the Knight of Wands is interesting because it starts to shift your attention from where it naturally goes, which is either forwards or backwards, certainly not in the right here, right now, to the right here, right now, albeit slightly half-assed, because he's not showing up fully upright. But it feels like there is something of a revolution, a resolution really, inside one's head that is happening here over Capricorn season for you. Now, to reiterate, Capricorn season runs from the solstice on the 21st of December or thereabouts through to about the 21st, 22nd of January, right? So we're encapsulating a good 3 weeks of the new year into this reading. And since the energetic signature of 2026 is much more creative, is actually incredibly fiery and whatnot, in terms of, movement and the need to be kind of nimble, flexible, adaptable, all these sorts of things, and not necessarily having a long-term plan. I mean, Capricorn, the biggest problem might be here that you've been trying to structure yourself a 5-year plan, but you're doing it without any of the fucking requisite information. Like, you can't make this plan because there are lots of things that are going to come in over 2026 that are going to require you to change course. We don't want the Tower coming in and doing this over and over again for you. We want you to change course, and you need to be able to do that, which means having a kind of dexterity about your movements that we would not necessarily find in the past, right? So if the resolution in your own mind is, I recognize that I cannot do my standard 5-year plan, 10-year plan. If I recognise that actually some of the things that I might be trying to move towards, kind of locking in and, getting that delayed gratification hat on and just, grinding away at stuff. If even the things that I would do that for are changing, they don't mean the same to me anymore, all that kind of thing, then the only thing that I really can do in the face of all of this is try and remain flexible, try and remain in the moment. Try and take the victories as I feel them in the moment, rather than being, part of a long-standing plan that has, could be anything up to a decade in its execution. Which is interesting, because then we have that Three of Pentacles showing up there, and we have the Hierophant. We've got rigid energy showing up again, but it feels different. And it feels different because there has been this, notice that sun in the background there, like this moment of illumination for you that seems to have hit really hard in Capricorn season somewhere. Now remember, I've said it fucking 3 times now, just in this reading alone. There is a point incoming where the skills and the way that you can create structure and order will start proving to be very, very useful. It's not that any of that is wasted, and it's certainly not that any of it is not needed or wanted by the universe, but we are in a change of flux, a time of flux, and in a time of change. So that kind of standard rigidity, it needs an overhaul, right? The Three of Pentacles is putting the emphasis on you working together with other people. Now, this might well be by way of an entirely different set of people that you have been hanging out with up until this point. I see that Ten of Cups there. I certainly don't feel like you feel it. You've been emotionally supported this year. But I don't even know if emotional support's ever really what you needed, Capricorn. I think more than anything, you just needed to understand the rules of the game. Biggest issue Capricorn's had since Pluto went into Aquarius was the fact that the rules of the game had changed and nobody had actually bothered to tell you not even what the rules were, but what fucking game we were all playing. And then it hasn't mattered what you've tried to do since. It's like everything's fallen down because, you know, we're not playing Monopoly anymore. We're playing fucking Jenga or something, right? Every move you make up until this point has hit a wall because it wasn't curated to the energies of the moment. Is this the thing that changes for you in Capricorn season, right? Where you understand that the rules of the game are relatively fluid, but the game itself is remaining fluid. It's about that decisive energy that Capricorn has being exercised in the moment, not over a longer term plan where you just work away at it. I think possibly so, because this Three of Pentacles working together with other people, think that there will be other people coming in here, but we've also got the Hierophant. Taurus energy, builder energy, much more in alignment with you, natively, we would say, than necessarily the energy of Sagittarius, right? But what you and Sagittarius actually share, hooves, there's one. It's the willingness to take a risk. Now, do I think you've got risks to take right now? No, I don't. I feel like the willingness to take a risk is actually on yourself, Capricorn. Right? So it's like somebody's passed you a piece of paper across the table and they've gone, psst, Cap, we're playing a game now where it's how well we can be in the moment, how well we can make decisions that allow us to be flexible, to adapt in the moment. Can you do that? And you're like, fuck yes. Why didn't somebody just fucking tell me that's what we were doing? It's not about what I built. It's not about all the ways that I used to measure my own value. Now it's about something different. And is this going to make any sense in the moment that it's happening? Possibly not. No, possibly we might need to perform a bit of a retrospective on this one this time next year. But these are the rules of the game for now. Can you do this? And I feel like the answer is a resounding fucking yes, Capricorn. Because the only thing that's really required here is that you show up. But you show up with an idea of your own personal value. We're not trying to control everything. We're not trying to create rigidity. It feels like the emphasis is moving in your own mind too. What can I do for other people? Now, you know, you're not all going to go off and join some sort of, you know, NGO charity mission or anything like that. But it's like, this feels like it's knocking on the door of your competencies, Capricorn, and saying, right, everything's changed, rules of the game are different, presuming you got the letter that was put under your door, so you understand what it's about now. Can you come help those who are not as adaptable and resilient as you? Can we work together to do this, to do something together here? it feels like you've found a meaning under it all, Capricorn. Somebody who has a why can endure any amount of how. This is really interesting. Okay, I'm going over to the extended now, so if you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Selfie, you can do that on Circle. I would be delighted to see you in either place. It definitely feels like the energy is turning, Capricorn, but it's never going to happen at you. It's got to be internally generated first, and then everything else is starting to just line up in the right place. But this meaning, ooh, that's a big one. All right, know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.